Hey everybody, this is going to be a short video for me, so grain of salt. A little over a week ago, to celebrate the game's pending launch, I put out a top 5 multi-class builds video for Baldur's Gate 3, as you probably know, and though I figured it would do well, you guys kind of blew me away with the response here. It quickly became my most viewed video ever. RIP Bladesinger 2.0, you had a good run. And it doesn't seem to be slowing down at all. So thank you for that. You guys are freaking awesome. Now, I am currently working on doing a more favorite multi-class builds for Baldur's Gate 3 video that should be out next week. But in the meantime, I wanted to give a quick update to that first video. As you probably know, in order to get the video out by the time the game released, I had to write the script and record and edit that video before the game actually released. I talked about that in the video, but yeah, that meant that I was going to sometimes be making some assumptions and would inevitably be wrong on some things once we got the full version of the game. And not surprisingly, that proved to be true. So I wanted to quickly here put out a video that simply updates some things from that video based on the full release version of the game that we have in our hands. And man, is it a great game, right? So fun. Okay, so as for the first build, the Holy Warrior, there's really only one big thing to note, but it is a big one, and it's that Larian has changed the Berserker Barbarian so that when you go into your Frenzied Rage, yes, you do get to make a bonus action attack each round, but every time you do, it lowers your chance to hit by 1 on all attacks, and that is brutal. Honestly, I'd almost rather have a level of exhaustion like you get in 5e. So yeah, that means you kind of almost never want to use that bonus action attack unless you're really desperate to finish off an enemy or something, and that is too bad. You do get the ability to make an improvised weapon attack as a bonus action that does not suffer that same penalty, and that improvised weapon can even potentially be another creature, and you can even throw them. So there's still some really cool stuff going on with Berserker Barbarian. And in general, I still do really like Barbarian with Paladin, but mostly for the Rage and the Reckless attack. With this change, I think I'd probably end up taking a different subclass on my Barbarian. Probably Wildheart would be my go-to, or maybe even just stop at 2 levels of Barbarian. If we did that, instead of being a Berserker, then you'd want to get the Polearm Master feat so that you can get a bonus action attack still and switch to using a glaive or a halberd instead of like a greatsword or a maul or a great axe, right? And here's something that I'm not seeing a lot of other people making Baldur's Gate 3 content talk about when they are discussing feats. It seems like everybody is saying, yeah, Polearm Master, great feat. It gives you an opportunity attack when someone enters your reach, and you get a bonus action attack with the blunt end, the butt of the polearm, but it's only a d4 of damage, so this is really not that great. And here's something those of you new to D&D rules should know. The damage die of your weapon is actually not all that important. Most of the damage that you do in D&D and Baldur's Gate 3 as a weapon user tends to come from things that you do to add damage to your attacks. Your ability modifiers, your rage damage, spells like Hex or Hunter's Mark, and above all things, damage from a feat like Great Weapon Master, which adds 10 damage to your attack if you hit with a heavy weapon. And glaives and halberds are heavy weapons. So sure, the butt of your halberd only hits for a d4, but when you're adding 3 or 4 for strength, 2 for rage, and 10 for Great Weapon Master, who cares? The most important thing is that you get an attack with that weapon. Now, one important note, at the time of this recording, Polearm Master does not seem to be working properly in Baldur's Gate 3. I've tested it myself, I've seen a lot of people talking about this online, but long story short, it seems to not always correctly be adding all of the sources of damage that you should be getting on that bonus action butt of the polearm attack. I have to assume that Larian is going to be fixing this, hopefully very soon. Maybe even by the time this video comes out. If they haven't, help me be a squeaky wheel here and see if they can get a patch in quick. Anyway, yeah. This sucks because it means you need to invest another feat now into Polearm Master, right? So maybe you do go Barbarian 4 still so you can end the game with 3 feats by level 12. It's a bummer, but Frenzied Rage was probably overpowered in early access, so I'm not all that surprised, to be honest, to see them nerf it a bit. I just think they might have gone a little too hard with the nerf bat. For build number 2, the Ninja, A couple of errata. One, I had read that you were going to start out with a d6 of damage to your unarmed strikes. Instead, it stays a d4 like in 5e, but then it scales more quickly than it does in 5e. So you go to a d6 for your unarmed strike at level 3 of Monk, and then a d8 at level 6. Also, I was assuming that Shadow Monks got Shadow Strike at level 6, but it's actually not until level 11. Considering that, and seeing the way of the open hand in its full release glory, I think I'm personally going to change my character that I'm playing with this build in my initial playthrough to be an open hand monk. They get to knock an enemy prone with their flurry of blows, among other things. And since in Baldur's Gate 3 you can flurry of blows before you take the attack action, unlike in 5e, that means you can potentially knock the enemy prone right at the beginning of your turn and then enjoy advantage on a prone enemy, right? For all of the rest of your attacks that round. It's a little less ninja-like, and Shadow Monk would still work great, but mechanically, I think open hand has the upper hand. Now, you may be thinking, wait a second, we were an assassin rogue. We already got advantage on our first round of combat, so knocking an enemy prone isn't all that important for us for this build. And that kind of leads me to another thing that I wanted to mention. I got a lot of comments from people on that video saying that I was clearly mistaken for taking Assassin, as Thief Rogues are much better, since they get an extra bonus action every single turn. I'll admit that I was skeptical that you would be able to just use that bonus action for whatever you wanted once the game launched. Surely they would limit it to only making like one bonus action attack per turn if you could make an attack with your bonus action. But as of this recording at least, they have not nerfed it. That means that if you wanted to and had the key for it, you could flurry of blows twice on your turn for 4 attacks with just your bonus actions. And that's kind of crazy. I feel like I could do a whole video on the best ways to abuse Thief Rogue in Baldur's Gate 3. Maybe I will. But that said, I still don't think it's necessarily the best rogue subclass for our ninja. It kind of all depends on what you want to do with your character. My goal was to make a sneaky burst damage dealer who could just flat out kill 1 or 2 targets at the beginning of combat with surprise. In that case, you actually do get more damage from automatic critical hits on 4 attacks, when one of them includes sneak attack damage especially, since that damage is doubled on a crit as well, than you would from 6 non-critical attacks if you spent 2 key points to flurry of blows twice as a thief on that opening round, right? Of course, you are burning through your resources more quickly in that scenario, but yeah, your sustained damage over the rest of the fight would be higher as a thief, even if you didn't have the key, since you could always then make 2 unarmed strikes even without key points by using 2 bonus actions, right? You don't need flurry of blows to make 2 unarmed strikes in that scenario. But yeah, burst damage is incredibly valuable in this game. Taking out an enemy or 2 right at the beginning of the fight so they don't even get a chance to attack you and your friends might actually do more to help you win the fight than doing more damage on rounds 2 and 3 and 4, right? Anyway, know your options and build the way that's best for what you want to do. Right, I said this was going to be a short video, yeah? I don't think I have any changes or updates to build number 3, the ultimate support, or build number 4, the ultimate blaster. Both of those seem to be working as we thought they would. For build number 5 though, the ultimate tank, a lot of you also commented to say that, alas, you cannot actually rage while in bear form, and it's true. And that sucks. But what you may not know is that you can rage first, then wild shape. And if you do, you get to keep your rage. Hooray! So it kind of just changes the order in which we do things. Not so bad. That said, yeah, when you wild shape, it pretty much replaces your hotbar, right? And you're pretty much limited to just do the things that wild shaped bear can do, which is a real bummer. And I really hope that Larian fixes that at some point in the future. Okay, I think that's it. If I missed anything else in that first video that didn't get mentioned here, please let me know in the comments. Otherwise, I love you guys, thank you for all of your support, and watch for that second BG3 builds video coming out next Tuesday. Okay, take care.